Today we're going to discuss adding to the master calendar. As mentioned, the master calendar resides in SharePoint. First, we're going to review the flavors of the workshop. Then we will discuss the various coding that we use on the master calendar. Our most popular workshop is Decoding the Struggling Reader. We use the abbreviation DATSR on the master calendar. This particular workshop is predominantly open workshops, but in very special occasions we will have them as hosted opens at districts. We'll also have them as hosted agencies, and rarely, but occasionally, we will have it as a closed workshop at a district. The Decoding the Emerging Reader is abbreviated to DATER. Again, we have it as open, hosted open, or hosted agency in unique situations, and occasionally people pay for us to be there. Our next grouping of workshops are our implementation workshops. Our countdown implementation training is a full day of training, and sometimes it can be closed or open implementations in very unique situations. Blast is our next implementation training. Again, it is closed predominantly, and in unique situations, it's an open implementation. HD Word is our next implementation training, and again, the same applies. And finally, Boost and Blitz is another implementation training. Let's now look at the workshop codes and offerings. Because there's limited space on the master calendar, we use codes. We have closed workshops, which of course would be a C on the master calendar. Closed workshops can be Decoding Struggling Reader, Emerging Reader, or an implementation training. Closed workshops are $2,000 a day plus $750 travel. Support is not a workshop, but a half day of support at a district, school, or ESA location. It's $1,250 for the half day and $750 travel. Open workshops are Decoding the Struggling Reader or Decoding in the Emerging Reader. We choose the location and attendees register on our site. We also have hosted open workshops. Hosted open workshops are also Decoding the Struggling Reader or Decoding the Emerging Reader, and we have specific criteria that's necessary for a workshop like this to happen. It's basically hosted at a school or district. It requires 20 plus attendees, and the attendees register on our site. We'll go into more detail about the criteria in a later snippet. We also offer hosted agencies. Hosted agencies are just like it sounds. They're hosted at an agency, at an educational service agency. They're called different things throughout the United States. Sometimes they're BOCES, sometimes they're ESCs, ESAs. There are various different names for them. A hosted agency is 25 plus attendees at an ESA, and the attendees register on the ESA's site. That is the difference between a hosted open and a hosted agency. A hosted open, the attendees register on our site. A hosted agency, the attendees register on the agency's site. And last but not least are our open implementations. Open implementation trainings are program-specific workshops. We choose the location and attendees register on our site. There is nothing such as a hosted open implementation, and we will go into that in more detail in another snippet. Now let's look at our virtual support codes and more. Webinars are on GoToMeeting or pre-recorded. They're 40 to 60 minutes long, and they're pre-implementation. They're the essentials webinars. They're designed for a broad audience, and they are not implementation based. We have M for meeting, generally with district decision makers. We also have VV, which is the virtual visit. And to differentiate it from the webinar, I suggest putting a space between the two V's. Virtual visits or GoToMeetings. They're 40 to 60 minutes long. They're online implementation support sessions provided by program specialists. Then we have trade show, TS. This is just basically a trade show or conference. Also on the master calendar, you'll see F, and that stands for flex time. If you work on a weekend, please get approved to take flex time off. You'll also see PTO. PTO is personal time off. If you need to take time off, please get it approved and add it to the master calendar. Before we go to the master calendar, let's look at workshops protocol. We have hundreds of workshops in process at any given time and over 1,000 per year. Therefore, Carrie can't do it all on her own. We count on everyone to help keep it streamlined and organized. Please send all open workshop requests for review to Corky and copy Carrie. Presenters are responsible to input all dates onto the master calendar, including PTO and flex time. Please see OneNote for all the naming conventions. Please note, if you add anything to the master calendar, please always email Carrie and copy Corky. Subject lines. Please use the following subject line when you add something to the master calendar. You must always write added to master calendar, added to MC, underscore, the flavor of the workshop. You would add the date and then the location. Changes. I cannot stress this enough. If you change anything on the master calendar, you must always email Carrie. Last but not least, do not delete. On the master calendar, Carrie is the only one who can delete. Each date has associated items, including invoices, hotels, contact information, etc. Please do not delete from the master calendar. Carrie will delete anything that needs to be deleted. Now let's take a test drive of the master calendar. I suggest having 2 browser windows open on your Chrome browser. One would be the master calendar and the other OneNote. When you get to OneNote, you'll click on Workshops, then you'll click on Workshop Protocol. Up will pop a window, and in it will have the description of the workshop offerings, as we discussed, a list of the virtual offerings and other codes. And this is where you will find a list of the master calendar naming conventions, so you can quickly reference the various naming conventions. Let's take a look at the master calendar. When you want to add an item to the master calendar, simply go to the date. In the right-hand corner, a link will pop up that says Add. Please be sure to copy and paste the date at the top, and this is where you will put in the naming convention that we just reviewed. So for example, a closed workshop in Montgomery County, Maryland, and the presenter's initials. Next, if it is a full day workshop, meaning that it runs from 8:30 to 3:30, you'll go down to where it says all day event. Click that box and it will take the times away. It will also make it present on the actual calendar page properly. Please put in the address of the event, including room numbers or any details that you have available. It is important to ask the room capacity. Room capacity should be in reference to a classroom setup. A classroom setup is when there is a table and there are chairs behind that table. The teachers need a working space in order to be successful during the workshop. Number of host attendees. If it is being hosted, please make sure that you have the number of attendees that are coming from the hosted group. And the total attendees tends to be a number that Carrie fills in, unless it's a closed workshop and it is exclusive to their group. So total attendees, you fill it in if it's closed, Carrie fills it in any other instance. Event type. Here I would select closed paid workshop. If it was hosted, hosted open workshop, etc. Next, flavor. The reason we don't put flavor into the actual naming convention is because it will be included here. So for flavor, we would say if it's a closed workshop and it is Blast, we'll go ahead and click Blast. Next, you'll select who the presenter is. So we would select the presenter, and the description area is there for any information that you would like to add. If it is a closed workshop, you need to click Billable, and you would include the billable amount. That would include travel. So if it's $2,000 plus $750 travel, it would be $2,750. In the PO field, that is something that Carrie will take care of. Once she receives a PO, she will attach it to the event and she will include the PO number. Please put the district name here. Then put the billing and contact information here. The billing and contact information can be very different from the location where the event is happening. Please note that you are not to write anything in Carrie's notes section. This is simply for her notes so she can track various items. It's important also to have an emergency contact name and cell phone number for someone who will be on site that day. This might be a different name and number from the person that you're actually working with to organize the workshop. Please do not fill out the last 5 fields. They're old fields and they're still there because they have archival information associated with them. Next, you will click Save. And finally, make sure that it populated properly. Then double-click the event one more time and check the web form and make sure you filled it in properly. Please don't hesitate to contact us as you're adding your dates to the master calendar. We're here and we're happy to help you.